Good morning, everyone. James from Junkyard Fox. Thank you so much for joining me on another desert bushcraft tutorial. So you've seen us talking about the yucca plant for many years. We have many videos on the yucca and all the uses that it has. Now, there are many species of yucca, so each one's going to have its own attributes. But generally speaking, the yucca has so many uses in the desert. From a food source during the springtime, we've even used the stalks to create a shelter before. So many uses. And here's going to be another one. As you saw with my footwear, we weaved a couple of the yucca stalks, some of the spikes, and made some very crude footwear. Now, this is historical. If you go to a lot of the museums and the historical record, a lot of the local tribes did weave some sort of footwear because, of course, out here, everything's out to stab you. Sharp rocks and cactus and thorns, stinging insects. So this is going to make things easier to traverse through the land. Now, of course, this is very primitive technology. They're not going to be taking the place of your cowboy boots or your all-terrain hiking boots, stuff like that. But if you're out here in a survival situation, something happened, you lost your footwear, they got stolen, here's a quick way to improvise off the land. Now, once again, these are yucca stalks. These are old. I made these last year, so they're a little dry. They're kind of getting a little brittle. But even so, I'm still able to walk through all these sharp rocks. So today we're going to gather the materials and build a brand new pair of yucca sandals from scratch. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get started. So I went ahead and removed them from my feet so you can see the very basic design. And it's an extremely simple design. It's just very slow going, very tedious. Now, looking once again at the historical record, you could see that the tribes would have very intricate designs, very intricate patterns, far more form-fitting, far better looking than this ugly hunk of junk right here. However, of course, they were masters at their craft. They were out here all day, their whole lives. So I lack that experience and I lack that craftsmanship. So I wanted something a little bit more simple because my philosophy is, if I'm stuck out here for a short period of time before I get to civilization and I could buy myself proper footwear. So I wanted something far more simple, far faster to make. And once again, this is just going to be my very basic setup. It's just very simple weaving. And then you're going to have a loop here for your big toe and some loops on the side so it can just wrap around your ankle. Now, if you want to go completely caveman style, you can make primitive cordage from yucca itself. So you can just be, completely 100% off the land. I'm going to go ahead and skip that because this already takes many hours. And in my opinion, cordage is cool to make out in the wilderness, but it is very slow going and it's taking a lot of calories and energy from you. And so I'm just going to go ahead and be a little bit more modern. And I did bring some bank line. And of course, anytime you're dealing with desert plants, wouldn't hurt to have a couple of gloves. You'll be a lot more happier that way. And then we're going to be using a folding saw because we're going to have to go and find a lot of thin yucca strands like this. And it takes about 30 to 40 per sandal. So it's going to be a lot of them, and you want them the longer, the better. And we got a good amount here for at least one sandal to show for demonstration. And then we need the looms while you weave through them. So basically what we need is two like this that are going to be holding the strands while you weave through them. So to get some of this, we did get a yucca stalk. You don't want one that's too old because they become extremely brittle. You want one that's somewhat young, that's pretty strong, and you're going to want to make them about 9 to 10 inches long each. So something like this. Basically, what you can do is the length of your saw, pretty much. We want this to be exactly the same length. Now that we got both of these sticks, we're going to baton through them. Not fully. Now, if you break through them completely, that's fine. You can improvise with it, but you kind of want to leave some towards the end. So it's kind of like a clothesline, like it's pinching on one corner. And oops, I ended up breaking it. So should have stopped earlier. So when we're talking about yucca or any desert plants, pretty much they all have spines and they're pretty sharp, they're pretty gnarly, they will cut you. So I would suggest you cut these out before we begin weaving with them. So luckily for us, these narrow leaf yuccas are pretty easy to finagle if you don't have anything. You just kind of twist it back and forth, back and forth. It does take a little while. They are fibrous, but it is possible to kind of just do this if you didn't have anything, and you can remove them. Now, obviously, this is taking a good amount of time, so I would, as always, suggest you come to the wilderness prepared, and if you have a cutting tool, of course, that's going to help. I did bring my Leatherman, my multi-tool, and this one has a pretty good pair of scissors, pretty sturdy pair of scissors, and look how much faster and more efficient we're able to cut these. So now you don't have to cut very deep. You want these strands as long as possible, so you don't want to make such a deep cut, but just enough to be getting that part off. Now the opposite ends, where I did saw them off, you don't necessarily have to do anything with them. However, because of all these little frays, all this fraying, when you're weaving, they may get tangled, they may get caught on something, and so once again, it would just be easier if you just kind of cut that so it's just more uniform like this, as opposed to something like this. So once again, this is more optional, but I think it's just going to make things faster, more efficient when it comes to the weaving process, because the weaving process does take hours. So whatever can shave off, some time, I would suggest it. And once again, a good reminder to always carry some good equipment while you're outdoors. So now that we've already removed the ends from both sides, keep in mind that these narrow leaf yuccas are somewhat stiff. So since we're going to be weaving, you're going to want to kind of make them more malleable, easier to manipulate. So this is what I like to do, is I just kind of like to bend them. You don't want to destroy it, but you do want to kind of loosen the fibers on the inside. It's just going to be easier for you to weave with them. As you do this, some of these sides are going to kind of loose. These fibers are going to kind of get loose on the sides. Just discard these. You can get rid of those. Sometimes they can be a little sharp, and they can kind of be like a splinter and get in your fingers. So once again, as you see these, you kind of just remove them. All right, so the first step is to get your jig and start placing the longest of your yucca leaves on here. Now, as I said earlier, I kind of wanted to keep this corner intact, so it's kind of like a clothespin. So it's kind of putting pressure like this as you enter the leaves. Mine ended up breaking, so this stick was a lot more dead than I thought it was, and so it split as I was putting pressure as I entered these. That's not the end of the world. Once again, I do have cordage, so I just tighten that up so it's putting that pressure still, and I'm just going to be sliding down, once again, the longest of my leaves on here, and you're going to leave about 3 or 4 inches out here left over, and then this is going to be the length of your foot plus an inch. So whatever the length of your foot is, make it a little bit extra longer, and then about what's left over, you're going to go ahead and place the second part of your jig, the opposite side, over here. And as you can see right here, we're going to make it the width of your foot with an extra inch left over as well. And then we're going to tighten the corners with cordage once again. So you'll see it as it takes shape. So let's go ahead and keep placing these on here. And once again, you want this to be the width of your foot plus an inch, and then it's going to be the length of your foot plus an inch. And then you're going to go ahead and keep these nice and flat. You don't want these to be bending over like this. As you put the other stick, it's just going to be uncomfortable on your foot. That's going to be digging into it. So you want to kind of keep it nice and flat on both sides and put the other stick on this side. So as you saw, this is our basic framework. We already got the strands lengthwise. Now we got to go widthwise. So we're going to get some strands, and we're going to start weaving them over and under, across. Now, these strands don't have to be as long. So in case you're short on a limited supply, focus on the long ones going lengthwise, and the shorter ones can be widthwise. Once again, it's just going to be over, under, and then the next strand is going to be opposite. So in this one, we're going to start with under, over, under, over. And so you're going to alternate, obviously. And I won't spend too much time here. This is a little boring, but I just want to make sure you're able to have a good visual example here. And then, yeah, weave it across. There we go. Excellent. All right, and now we're going to get another one. And so how we began over here with under and over, this next one's going to be opposite. Over and under. And as you do this, of course, it's going to start feeling a little tighter, which is good. That's what you want. You want a tight weave. It's going to give it strength, and it's going to keep things from getting through to your foot. Stickers and pebbles and stuff like that. And so there we go. We got a good example right here. And we're going to just bring it down for now. Just kind of bring it down a little bit. We're going to start again with the third one. And so this last one was over and under. So once again, we're going to go opposite like we did the first one. And so now we have 3 of them. We're going to bring them down to the very bottom as much as we can to try to lock them in. Then bring the next one. Can get a little tricky, a little stubborn. And just keep bringing them down. And you want to make them nice and tight. And just keep bringing some across. So let's keep going. So now that we have placed these across, then we're going to start weaving them around each other. So it's kind of like a Z. So this one's going to be turned this way, and we're going to start weaving it across. And these are some pretty long yucca stalks. So whatever's left over up here, we're going to just turn it around and weave it this way. The more material you have, the thicker and more comfortable this foot pad's going to be, of course. So we're going to be doing that all across the ones that we did. And then once we're done across, then we can remove this stick and we can start with these interlacing like this and weaving them through like I did down here. So let's go ahead and start with this first one. How this one came under right here. We're going opposite. Make sure right here at the corner, tighten it up. And I kind of just bend it with my finger like this. Kind of lower that. And this part that came out over here, these are very long yucca stalks. So these are pretty long. So whatever's left over, once again, we're going to weave across this way. So once again, the more material we have, the more comfortable we're going to be. So I just removed the stick, and these we're just going to alternate. We're going to get this one and bend it this way and weave it across, and then this one, bend it this way, weave it across. And so as you can see, there's the pattern of going opposite directions and weaving. And try to tighten this up. This is going to be kind of what locks it in finally. So yeah, let's start with this one. There we go. And yeah, just really tighten that up right there. Make sure that it's nice and tight. And I'm not going to bore you with the rest of this. You know how this goes. So I'm just going to turn around this way and keep going. And we'll see you in a couple of minutes. And here we have it, our first shoe. So not the prettiest thing you've ever seen, but I feel like it adds a good amount of protection and even a little bit of a comfort there for your foot, a little bit of cushion there. And yeah, it's just a matter of patience and just tightening everything together. Once you're done, you're going to have a couple little spots left over, obviously, from the ends of the stalks. You could either cut them off if you like, or, just get creative. I just tend to kind of like finagle them underneath other parts. Like, for example, right here, this part was left over, and I kind of just weaved it to the side like that. So it just keeps adding a little bit more, it just strengthens the weave. So anyway, now that we have it here, you got to think of which spot is going to go with your foot. I'm going to go with this being my left foot, and my big toe would be somewhere over here. So about 2 inches down from the top and 1 inch from the edge right here, we're going to loop it some cordage around 2 of these weaves right here. And so let me get some cordage. And I'm just eyeballing it here, guys. I don't have an exact measurement. So I'm going to go ahead and say maybe like 14 inches, a little bit over a foot. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. So what I like to do is I like to make it a loop like this. And as you saw earlier, I did cut a little piece of a thorn from a mesquite, and this is going to help me push it through. It'd be a lot easier if I had 2 fully functioning hands, but you got to work with what you got. So there we go. So here we go. Now I'm going to run this through across at least 2 times. That way it's just reinforcing that cordage. Now this is, man-made cordage, so it's going to be a lot stronger than primitive cordage. If you are working with Yucca cord, then I would probably wrap it around 3 times because, of course, your big toe is where a lot of the weight is being lifted from, so it's going to be putting more pressure there. But yeah, I'm not going to bore you with this one. I'm just going to do this off camera, run this through. So here we have it. We have our loop here for your big toe. Now I did give it some slack. You don't want it to be too tight where it's constricting your circulation or it's uncomfortable, it's digging into you. So there is a little bit of slack here. And I did run it 3 times, 2 to go around your toe and 1 down here where it's tied up. And so once again, this is going to be your big toe. And then I did 2 loops right here for your inner ankle, your outer ankle, and then down here on your heel. And so what we're going to do now is get about 4 feet of cordage. And we're going to cut this. So it's going to be our string that connects everything together. So take your length of rope and you're going to run it through your big toe loop till it's about halfway. So it should be about even on both sides. Right there. And I personally like to run it through 1 more time just to kind of reinforce this loop. There we go. And now we're going to run this string through the inner ankle, this outer string through the outer ankle, and they're both going to loop across the heel area. And then when you enter your foot, they're both going to cross in here. And then they're going to meet up at the top of your foot here. So let me go ahead and take off my boot. And I am wearing white socks, so it's easier in terms of contrast. So you're able to see. So give yourself the old Tabi boot, like ninja feet. Separate your big toe from the rest of your toes. Get in here. There you go. Place your big toe in there. Tighten it up. Make sure that this string is above your foot. All right, now I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna run this one this way. This loop this way. Tighten it up and tie it. Now, I'm not the best at knots, so I'm just gonna give myself the old bunny ears and just tighten it up. Now, keep in mind, this is bank line, and bank line is pretty tacky. It's pretty sticky, so this is gonna be pretty good right here. And I'm gonna just double knot it, and there we go. Check it out. So, pretty decent. Covers my foot, and a little extra on all sides. So there we go. First sandal done. So now it's time to go ahead and make the second sandal. And I'm not going to bore you with that, so a little bit of movie magic. We're gonna jump forward a couple of hours, and we'll see you then. So 2 hours later, and we finally have our pair of sandals. Now, earlier today, I said that I had plenty of long, thicker strands of yucca, and that's what I used my first sandal with. Well, I should have known to conserve a couple of them for my second sandal, and so I used all my thick ones on this one, and I had to use a lot of my thinner strands, like this, on my second one. So if you notice, this one is much thinner than my first one. So obviously when you have them longer and thicker, you're going to have a lot more weaving material that's going to provide more protection and probably more comfort. And so they're not exactly equal, but we live and we learn. So here we have our Yucca sandals, and I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. And not only am I going to remove my boots and put them on, but I'm going to remove my socks. Now, obviously, if you have socks, wear your socks. It provides more warmth, more comfort. But once again, I'm so confident in these that I'm going to take them off, and I'm just going to go Cody London wearing these sandals and walk around this vicinity that has all this yucca and ocotillo and prickly pear and all this stuff. So let's get to it. So there we have it, folks. Oddly refreshing to feel some breeze on my feet. Now, these are not going to be replacing my cowboy boots realistically, but I will say that I would feel a lot more comfortable with improvised footwear like this if I was traversing through this land than if I was completely barefoot. Keep in mind, this mountain has a lot of flint and chert, which is sharp rocks. There's ocotillo, mesquite, yucca, tumbleweeds, scorpions, stuff like that. So I would feel a lot more comfortable traversing with these bad boys right here. And honestly, they don't feel bad whatsoever. Now, keep in mind that they will be wearing down as you continue to use them. So this is not going to be a long-term solution to your problem. But hopefully, if you're 3 days away from civilization, you'll be all right. But all things considered, I feel pretty comfortable traversing. I could even do a little sprint. I will say that I can feel the difference between either sandal. So my first sandal is much thicker, and thus it provides me more protection, more cushion. Where the second one, since I was out of the longer, thicker strands of yucca, it's thinner. It's not going to last me as long. I have to be more careful when I'm stepping on this foot. Realistically, if I was here for like 2-3 weeks, I would probably replace this foot, this sandal, with another one, much thicker. But all things considered, this is a success. Well, everyone, that's about it for us. I'm going to go ahead and call our yucca sandals a success. Now, once again, keep in mind that this is a short, temporary solution to your issues. So they're not going to be replacing modern-day footwear. You're not going to be hearing rappers bragging about their yucca sandals anytime soon. But if you're spending some good amount of time out in the desert, this is a good skill to learn. Now, once again, this is a natural material, so there's yucca everywhere. We could have gone fully caveman style and made some, improvise some cordage from Yucca as well. But that's just too time consuming. And the more time you're spending out here, the more calories you're using up, the more hydration you're losing. So once again, it's a good reminder to always carry some quality gear with you when you go outdoors, even if you do have the skills. So, our bank line came in handy, our Leatherman tool and stuff like that. We always get these comments on our desert survival skills, somebody that has never spent time outdoors mocking us like, if you're stuck outdoors in the wilderness, why would you have a knife on you? Well, because that's common sense. Tools is what raised humanity from where we originally started to where we are now. So let's not forget to, carry some quality tools when we're outdoors, because you never know when you're going to need them. And it's a good paradox of survival skills to learn these skills and practice these crafts, and they empower you and they raise your confidence. And at the same time, it humbles you to remember just how fragile us humans really are. So, good food for thought there. Once again, go ahead and give these a try if you have some yucca in your area. And that's about it for us, folks. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, maybe for a future desert survival project. Now that we did footwear, I'm kind of thinking I'd like to do something with the hat. But we'll see. So that's about it for us, folks. We'll see you guys next week with another video. Now go outside and get your boots dirty. Or your yucca sandals dirty.